Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm here to talk about my VCOM interview experience. I know there's not a lot of resources out there for people to reference about VCOM, and so I wanted to kind of get the word out to put some people's minds at ease about what the experience may be like for them. Now, again, I do want to preface that this was all based on my experience, not to say they're going to change it, but I can only speak on what happened during my visit there. So you do start your morning out. It's about a 6 hour day, and you are there with a total of 12 other candidates. And what they do is they split the group in half. One group goes with a interview team, and the other group gets a tour of the campus, the facilities, and even a little tour of Spartanburg itself. It's very nice. I will say, so starting with we'll go just pretty much go with the interview because that's what everyone really wants to know about the questions that are asked and kind of what happens, right? So VCOM, they come out and say in their invitation for the interview that it is an experience that they just want to get to know you, and it is very much just that. So relax. Seriously, I was not asked a single prerequisite medical, school, science, math question at all. Nothing. It was seriously them taking your personal statement and the secondary questions like what was your favorite movie, your favorite book, and like maybe why you chose that. But they really read into it and they want to know about more in depth about your personal statement and your experience maybe you shared in there. And then they also want to see how dedicated you are to the program and more so about why VCOM. And so be prepared for that. For me, there are there was six faculty members that were doing interviews, and it went all the way up to the dean. So I interviewed with the dean actually, great guy. And I mean, so my recommendation to you is to, in knowing that, get to know something about those people that are doing your interviews, okay? Go on the website, look up the faculty, look at the positions they've held, look at their experience, right? And so then you can connect with them on that. For me, when I was asked, now, one question that stands out most was, why do you want to go to VCOM? And so think about what separates VCOM from the other programs. Okay, what makes VCOM unique when you're answering that? For me, I directed it back towards a lot of the faculty experience with the dean specifically. I would advise you to read his profile because he has some unique tidbits in there that are really quite interesting in regard to his experience and the things he's done in his past. So speaking on that is a very great example, and that's actually what I did. I mean, I used a bunch of little other things. I would also recommend scouring the website, finding little things that maybe others may have missed. For me, I have an MBA, and so I'm very um, business type mentality. I found they have a strategic plan here at the program. It was on their websites. I really had to dig through, but I did find it. And I was like, wow, that's really great. And so the dean actually also has an MBA. There are other faculty members, by the way, that do have an MBA. So that's how I was able to connect with those individuals and talk about a little bit of the business side. And I thought it was really great that they had a plan and objective, like long term, and what they're looking to do with the program. And so I was able to actually, I brought that up with the dean, and he kind of took the interview and went on to talk about the strategic plan that he created, for about 10 minutes. So each person that you're going to interview with, you're going to interview with three different people for 30 minutes. Okay. And again, they're just going to pick things out of your personal statement for the most part and want to know a little more about you. So yeah, it's seriously, that's really all I can recommend. I can't really think of anything else that was super pertinent other than seriously just relax. It was not that big of a deal. You're not doing anything crazy like some of the other programs you've heard me about doing an intubation or some kind of doing work on a respirator or something like that while answering questions. No, you don't do any of that here. It is seriously so casual and comfortable and just relax. It's not a big deal. Is all I can say with that. Let's see, some more tips and recommendations. Uh, I would just say be prepared to talk more in depth about your life experiences and kind of how you can relate those experiences to anesthesia. So for me, I was a pilot in the military, and I could relate flying in the critical phases of flight with the critical phases of anesthesia. And same thing with the maintenance phase of flight and just kind of staying ahead of the situation and preparing for, what could potentially happen in the next 5 seconds, So kind of thinking ahead, I was able to correlate a lot of that. Um, yeah, I really can't think of anything else that really stuck out of my mind. Again, the biggest one was why VCOM. Every single person I interviewed with, they did ask that question. I was asked about childcare because I have a child, and it's not a big deal because my ex is taking care of the child while I'm in the program. So they wanted to make sure I was going to be, really committed to the program. Oh, I will say that going into it, make sure you kind of tune in for like those buzzword topics and of when you get your initial briefing from the team. So one of the things that really stuck out to me was when the dean was talking initially, he said if he could have his wish that everybody that would graduate at VCOM with their CAA, they would stay in Spartanburg, right? Ideally, he would like to fill the Spartanburg area first and then branch out to the state of South Carolina and then eventually, um, fill the region, the Southeast regions. And so, locality was a big focus point. And so I did make it a point to let them know that hey, I was staying in town for a few days to see what Spartanburg is all about. For me, I'm from Hawaii, and the traveling to all the way to South Carolina was quite a trip. And so I wanted to spend some quality time in the town and in the towns around Spartanburg as well. But for 4 days, I, made sure I made the most of it, and I did let the team know that I was there and adventuring. And I asked other candidates if they wanted to join me as well. Most were leaving and they were only there for a day or just kind of in town for the interview, then leaving. Um, so if that does come up, I would say to try to, make it known that you're very interested in the local area. Okay. Uh, the other thing I would leave you with is they are gonna leave a bit of time for you to do a Q&A as a group. I would say this is your time to shine because all 12 of you come back in the classroom to ask questions of the faculty. Uh, so come with your good questions to get those things answered. Don't be quiet because this is your moment to stand out. Um, Above the other candidates, so think of good quality questions. Some of the ones that I heard, me specifically, I asked about clinicals and how they're decided and if you get to choose where you can do your clinicals, and they were able to elaborate on it and provide a really great answer that I really personally loved. I'm not going to give you the answer what they shared because maybe you can ask that. And so that was a really good question they like to hear. And I didn't want to be the one like constantly asking questions. That's the other thing. Ask your one or two questions, but make sure you get one in there and make it a good one, okay? Um, that's the recommendations I can give you. Again, just relax. If you want to know more, go ahead, throw a comment or message me on the Facebook group that I'm in for the aspiring CAAs. I'm open to sharing my statistics. I did drop it in the group there. They said, listen, 50% of the selection is based on the interview. Okay. If you were able to get to the interview, like that is a huge accomplishment in its own, but know that it doesn't stop there. And throughout the entirety of the process, they're going to be watching you and, seeing your reaction to the entire visit, throughout the entire visit. So just be involved. Make sure that you're the one that they remember the most out of the group, right? In a good way, of course. All right. That's all I got. I hope this helps. Again, feel free to ask your questions. Thank you and good luck.